Well, Toga Hitsada is back in the winner's circle after last week, but now we go to something historic. It is what everybody loves to do on iRacing. It's the Green Hell. It is the Nürburgring in the classic Lotus Grand Prix for your Sunday championship. It's live here on iRacing, brought to you by the Global Sim Racing channel. Hello, I am Craig King. In the booth today is Nicholas Hillebrand, and joining us will be Christian Deploy in the director's booth with help from Daniel Costello and Dougie Beard providing the cameras. Nicholas, you probably are the best person to talk about this track. We'll get to that in a moment. But for these drivers, this is the ultimate experience for classic racing, something from the 70s around the legendary track that is the Nordschleife.
Welcome to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Most modern high-end series might use the GP circuit nowadays, but it will certainly never hold the respect and awe that the Northern Loop commands. Though it can be and is usually used in conjunction with the Grand Prix circuit for competitions in real life, here on iRacing, drivers can harken back to a time gone by and just run the 13-mile behemoth this place is known for. Nicknamed the Green Hell by three-time F1 world champion Sir Jackie Stewart, it is often regarded as the greatest test of a driver anywhere on the planet. Just looking at the stats will tell you why. More than 150 turns and close to 1,000 feet in elevation will pass you by in a single lap. Simply memorizing the course is half the battle for most drivers, let alone being fast. It goes without saying that this place is dangerous. Many fast corners lack runoff, there's blind apexes everywhere, and in a couple cases, even modern cars will get airborne. The list of famous turns is pretty lengthy, but some of the more notorious are places such as Flugplatz, Miss Hit Miss, Bravery Corner, and of course, the ever-iconic Carousel. It's not just the places where you've got to move the wheel that get attention too. The Dodinger Hoa stretches for more than 1.5 miles in length. While you would think this circuit would mainly be limited to the track days most gearheads flock to for a chance to lap the ring, it still sees quite a bit of wheel-to-wheel combat. The 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, the VLN Series, and the World Touring Car Championship all still take to the track to this day. Many race fans consider this the mecca of road racing, and any driver who is able to push the limits here often quickly garners their respect.
Well, Nicholas, as we were about to say, this is the track you know very well. It's your home track, basically, and a lot of fun for the people that love to challenge on this classic track.
It's all good. Absolutely, Nürburgring Nordschleife, one of the most iconic circuits around the world, I'd say. The Green Hell, as Jackie Stewart called it. Over 20 kilometers, second longest circuit that F1 ever raced around, and the longest permanent circuit. Opened in 1927, 22.8 kilometers, of course, and 160 corners. None of them are alike, nothing of the copy-paste stuff that we have nowadays for some Tilke tracks, for example. So, yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. These cars are faster than ever went around here, because obviously the Lotus 79 that we have today started racing in 1978, and the last time we were here, we were in F1 for 1976, when, Niki Lauda had a bit of an oopsie just before Bergwerk.
Yeah, it's one of these tracks where you want to avoid the curves. It's a classic track that's still got the raised curves, and earlier today, in a practice race for these drivers, they did have issues around some of these curves. So, I did mention about Toga Hitsada leading the championship as we get ready to go in. He won't be pole position today. We'll get to those qualifying times in a moment, but he is leading the championship by just 11 points to James Barry. And as you start to see Kartik Pai still there in third, we're going up Frischer in fourth, and Daniel Gallus just there. Close behind will be Taylor Lane. We're starting round 8. The second drop weeks will come in there, so for the likes of Hans Sommer and Mickey Friesen, haven't been driving a lot, should pay to their advantage here. But the F1 Championship's not the only championship we got, Nicholas. The F2 for those drivers under 3,000 iRating, and that's been very close.
Yes, indeed. Simon Steinbild is leading that right now with 300 points. Only 10 points behind that is Keith Herner, followed by Connor Levy, or Levi, I'm not 100% sure. Gord Jeanette and Alec Classic are in 4th and 5th behind that. Also, just the top 5 covered by barely 30 points. Then Matthew Cockerham, Kurt Klapper, Andrew Dixon, Shervin Arsamari, and Manning Grinnan fulfill the top 10. Also not very far behind, overall 80 points, so everything is still quite open.
Everything is still quite open, and with that as well, we also have the team championship. Join up to the team championship on the forums, and you can represent a classic team. Quick Renault Elf is leading the championship with the Candy Team Tyrrell there in P2, and Essex Lotus right behind them as the drivers just keep going on by. And by you talk about Renault Elf, just a thing there, it would have been Patrick Depillier's 81st birthday today if he was still alive. Unfortunately, he has not, but he raced this track 4 times, and he only got a P9 once. But as the race details go on by, it is 6 laps out here today, and it's a 6-minute lap time, so you get the maths there. It's an open setup. Bring what you want, and the community do help you, providing some fantastic setup for you to give it a go. But if you crash it, you're done for the day. No spare car out there. Drive-through will be at 17x, and disqualification will be at 25. We may see that, but Nicholas, with so many walls around here, not really a chance to get a penalty for the off-track, because I think if you go off, you'll be hitting one of those classic barriers.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I don't really see any point around the Nordschleife where you would really gain anything by, going over the grass, because we don't have tarmac runoffs here. It's brutal, brutal, brutal all the way. And as you mentioned, the curbs are quite high. Modern GT cars can handle those quite nicely, but even when they did the record run there a couple of years ago with the Porsche 919 Evo, that thing was really staying away from the curbs, wasn't even taking the, carousel that we're seeing in the background here, right behind our text box here. Very nice. And, even then, these cars, especially the 79, with the ground effect, this thing will want to stay away from too big a bump. And, it's all about setting the car perfectly for this run here.
We're going to get into the start of the race, and Pepe Fuertes will be pole position out there today. He beat Toga Hitsado with out of set sim qualifying, such as the nature of the Nordschleife. James Barry will be third, with Ricardo Ruiz in fourth. And it'll be Jacob Reed who will start in fifth. Steve Bycroft sixth. Gabri Martinez seventh. Jonat Friescher will take eighth. Josephine Becker will be ninth. And Shadi Ahmad will be 10th for the first page.
Right, on to the second page then. In row 6, we have Aaron Blair and Bikke Friesen. In row 7th and 13th and 14th, we have Seb Alexander and Björn Ackermann. Row 8 is Taylor Lane and Kevin Verbruggen. Row 9, we have Jean-François Boscu and Jason Krakowiak. And in row 10, we have Daniel Gali and Jose Luis Montilla.
Very quickly, we're going to have to go to green flag right away, because Stucroft, Munro West, Cunningham, Simpkins and Steinberg will be last, but it does not matter. It's starting to get the best of the runs here, and for the first time this season, he gained a position on the start. He manages to gap Pepe Fuertes on the early doors. Everyone just tried to get around through the Sabine Smith curve. It wasn't that name was years ago, but only Aaron Blair making up positions right now as they come on down into Hatzenbach.
Very tightly together there. A lot of screaming Cosworth DFE, 475 horsepower as a pop per car here. Just over 500 kilos, I think around 530, 540 kilos with these cars. And of course, most of the downforce here, the revolutionary part of this car, ground effect, which will be quite interesting as we head through Quiddelbacher Höhe and now up to Flugplatz. And Pepe Fuertes is looking inside, outside, inside, all over. And you can see the sparks from Hisada's car bottoming out there as they are just getting load on the springs again after the almost jumping hill at Flugplatz.
Yeah, Toga Hisada's got a legendary moment in the Lotus 49s around Flugplatz. Shouldn't see many drifting today in these ground effect cars, but look how low they're running here. And James Barry right behind. He's having to defend against Jacob Reed, but Barry as well trying to get on the attack of Pepe Fuertes. And Jacob Reed, he is a legend in F1 cars around on iRacing in the Grand Prix series. You've got to feel he's already made one position up. He'll be hunting on by for one of these positions. Earlier today, James Barry and Toga Hisada had a fantastic race out there. However, you put Pepe Fuertes in the middle, fastest man this week in all of qualifying. And even though he didn't get the best of starts, he's still in with that fight.
Absolutely. And it's one thing you gotta love here as well. It's all the same car, but all of these guys are running, a lot of different historical liveries. The normal 79 livery, then we have a Ferrari here with James Barry, behind that Martini Racing with Jacob Reed and Rees in one of those classic, that wouldn't be an F1 for a couple more years, Marlboro McLaren liveries, as they're all heading down the hill now into miss, usually, but, per car, there's so many different lines through that corner. It's absolutely incredible.
I think it was more of a hit, miss. as they use the downforce to their advantage and then let the car just wash out a little bit for that final part of miss hit miss as they come on down. And now one of my favorite corners onto the track. They go down through to the bridge and then up into X Müller. But this is Gabriel Martinez trying to repeat some of his good luck earlier this weekend in the historic. Bit of a slide for Reese. He does not lift. Does not lift. He thought he could days of thunder it. And that's a really timely mistake. And there's more carnage out behind them. Shaddy and Matt caught in it. More driver. Taylor Lane. Bjorn Ackerman. Kevin Verbruggen gets through. A lot of cars. And Ricardo Ruiz is well caught. It's the big one at Nordschleife.
Oh, and everyone coming up the blind hill at X Müller. Everyone, really, really trying to just stay on it, have everything at their disposal as they come up the hill. And yeah, unfortunately, no one able to react in time except for, select majority here. Yeah, that is a huge one. I was going to make a reference to, the next corner, the Lauda left, being the one where Niki Lauda actually ended the time of the Nordschleife for F1 cars. But yeah, this is certainly, well, we just had the end for a lot of drivers here for the Nordschleife at X Müller.
Yeah, saw Taylor Lane. He's got no wing out there for watching Kevin Verbruggen. The full name of drivers who are in the pits: Bjorn Ackerman, Ricardo Ruiz, Shadi Ahmad, Josephine Becker, and Gabriel Martinez. And Taylor Lane is trying to drive that thing like it's the Peugeot. But this is Kevin Verbruggen right now as he is trying to make some moves up. There's Taylor Lane. Taylor, that's some real good concentration. You don't have the wing, which means you don't have the downforce. Look at the slide. Look at the slide. Like I said, some of these cars did like the sliding in the day, but I don't think you want that. Got the pedal camera. I think you'll be seeing a lot of that right foot lifting off to try and control the throttle. But to the leaders, they got away with that. They didn't get caught up in that. Jacob Reed continues to hunt down James Barry at one of the favorite parts of a lot of drivers on this circuit.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised he was able to carry on without a rear wing. But then again, this is the first, proper car other than this predecessor. So the 78 was the first car that actually started utilizing ground effect downforce in a bigger scale. The 79 produced 30% more. So here we are now, everyone here using that grip. There's Ricardo Ruiz, and that's just a tank slapper. Then the first one goes flying over the back. And more people just trying to, they're just trying to estimate, which way will the cars go now, left or right, and yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that could have been avoided, though, because, I know you've got a split-second decision, and Gabriel Martinez isn't going to know that the car is braking. Could have just slowed down a little bit when you see the twitch. The moment you hit those curves here, because they're raised, you lift up the car. That ground effect is gone, and you just lose all chance of having any sort of ground effect that had to go as Luca Monroe now continues on. Got a little bit of EV help there behind. Maybe needs a Firestone or a Thunderstone to try and get himself an evolution, but this is a good move. Is he going to try and set this overtake up on Tim Shoecroft? He won't, but that's good, though, because if he tries to do it here at Schwalbenschwarz, I do apologize, we've got the German in the room, and my German is not very good. The over-under should set him up for a really good chance to make an overtake here with Daniel Gallus behind down the Döttinger Hoa.
Yeah, it's a very long straight, actually long enough that technically, if you get overtaken at the beginning of the straight, you can try to counter at the back of it. 3 wide almost, with Krakowiak here, making the biggest move of all, as it seems. And the 7-up car, number 4, of Kevin Verbruggen trying to slot in behind again and being able to keep some positions. And here comes Monroe down the left-hand side. Is more courageous on the braking into the Hohenrhein chicane and can make it through. Really well done there.
Yeah, to go around the outside of Tiergarten there is really brave and good work there. Remember, this is the industrial. This is the old form, the old layout, so no Grand Prix there. So it means that they just go straight right. Well, not straight right, but they turn right. And they just make their way on around here. Daniel Gallus is trying to now see what he can do. He was behind Monroe and Shoecroft on the start of the Döttinger Hoa. Didn't decide to make a move at that time. However, now he's really got a good move. Where you look for overtakes around here, you look for it before you get to Makesfield and Callenhard. You look for it before Swidenkreuz and Arenberg there. Just a couple of the corners that you look for. Maybe if you get a good run down before Flugplatz, but it is so treacherous. If you get a bad run like Shoecroft just did, you might be forced to just take a lift and wait after Flugplatz to make a move. Unless you're very brave by Daniel Gallus, he decides against it.
Yeah, I think that's more just putting pressure on the drive up ahead. So Shoecraft does in fact know that he's there, but you lose so much momentum, you know, going back to the racing line and, you know, having to lift off a little bit to avoid contact and, you know, also taking into the effect the loss of downforce momentarily. So they go over Schwedenkreuz. Look at that, all the sparks striking. You know, these cars are so incredibly close to the ground. And at that high speed, you know, so many crashes happening there because you're slightly overusing it, and that's Kevin Verbruggen gone. Down the foxhole.
Yeah, it looks like he went down the foxhole. I wonder if this happened at Arenberg and just lost it at Arenberg. He went over the bumps, yeah. He did a Tony Hawk's over the curb on the exit of Arenberg, and that just cost him, went spinning around. We're just going to see it right here. Here you go. You can, on a GP car, use that. But that's a lot. And the moment you utilize that floor, remember, it's an old wooden plank in the, well, no, it's a steel plank, it's an aluminum plank like they've got nowadays. And you just have that car just hit that curb, boom, 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 and you just go flying. Man who isn't flying, he's trying to catch up to the flying Japanese driver. It's Togo Hizada, but Pepe Fuentes, he's got Wednesday on his car. Well, I think it's Saturday, it's Sunday, actually. I got my dates wrong. Not a lot of opportunities for him to make a move at the moment.
Yeah, I think for Fuentes right now, it's just, you know, sit back and wait. He can go the pace. He's within half a second still, of course. And you can see already, you know, even though this car is mainly generating downforce over the ground effect, there's still a lot of drag that this, you know, car has. And, you know, if you go, the faster you go, the bigger of a hole you punch in the air. That is very well known to everyone, you know, slipstream, and Fuentes can, especially around these fast parts here, you know, Kesselchen, then Klostertal, Mutkurve, this entire way up the hill, also way steeper than you would think from the TV broadcast cameras here. You can utilize that entire way up just like a straight and just stay close behind. So it's not really a lot of pressure yet to put any moves on, so to say. It's basically, you know, you still have around 100 kilometers to go pretty much at the end of this lap. So I think Fuentes right now is just sitting back. Jacob Reed, meanwhile, you can see a little bit of countersteer on the brakes. He's looking to be a bit more desperate to get past James Barry.
Yeah, I think he had a good run there, but before he got to Bravery Corner, as they say in English, wasn't able to do much there. And of course, that hill climb, it catches you out, almost like the hill climb when you go up the Kemmel Straight at Spa. You just don't realize how steep it is until you're there. So that is quite a track. And if you're in a GT car, that hill, the slipstream will give you the advantage to look for a move, depending on how much power you've got in these cars. But with these cars, they're roaring, they are fast, they've got so much downforce, you can't really abuse that hill to make an overtake. But Jacob Reed is hunting, and this is the best way to do this. Jacob is a man that can follow anybody. Last year, Audrius Valenteas, a very top classic car driver on iRacing. These two in a Nissan GTP from the 80s went nose to tail for a whole 40 minutes around here at full speed. And they're about the same speed that these cars can do. So just imagine that. He would be happy to just follow James Barry in this dirty air for as long as he wants. But the key thing is, Barry is starting to lose the slipstream a little bit, and as he goes wide there, not the place you want to make a move through Flatsgarten, and Reed notices it. I don't think I'd want to try and make any move around Flatsgarten there.
Yeah, again, I think it's mainly about pretty much almost like symbolically knocking on the door and just going, well, you know, I'm here. You have nowhere to run. And now that they're going through Schwalbentrans again, up to Kleines Karussell, actually, there's a move there. And Fuentes goes down the inside, gets the actual little carousel. Hizada has to take the long way around, loses out massively thanks to that, and that actually brought the gap back down. Whew, the moves are now being made finally, after the first third of the race is almost finished, and now everyone's snaking left and right to try and break the slipstream.
Well, in the last race they did, the practice race, coming around the Schwabenschwartz, Hizada went a little bit wide, hit on the grass. James Barry overtook him at the start of the Dottinger Halle, but Togo Hizada just went, yes, I'm taking it. And now Barry's trying to use that slipstream, and Pepe's decided, well, hang on, I might need you here. And he's actually losing speed. And Barry may make a move here. Pepe goes on the deep end. Reed decides not worth my time. So while these four continue to duke it out, Hizada loses the lead, and he lost that because coming to the second carousel, there was a call of car left. He had to give the respect there, and the respect he gave, he had to abort going into the chicane. And that's all she wrote. Jacob Reed will take the fastest lap. And remember, a point for fastest lap in the race. Some of these drivers may get some off track. Purple at the moment belongs to Jacob Reed.
It's just absolutely insane the amount of speed that these cars can get around here. And I mean, a 558, that's, for context, that's not really, it's not really saying a lot out of context, but in context, it is quite something. Since, Stefan Bellof, a couple years later, 6:11, the almost unbeatable lap time, the fastest lap time ever achieved around here in an actual, homologated race car, so to say, in a 956 in 1983 or 84, if I remember correctly. And that was only beaten, really, by the Porsche 919 Evo then, which is another 40 seconds faster around here.
And if you want to talk about time, yes, Jacob Reed, fastest lap so far today, with a 58.093. He may go around the outside here of Arenberg. You can't really do that. It's not a hairpin per se. It's more of a blurry, tight, sweeping right-hander. James Barry has the fastest lap in any race this week. And this is usually, we know that there's usually the hot split to this car. But at the same time, when it's a Nordschleife, everybody comes out to race anything at the Nordschleife. And Barry West gets to survive. And that looked like it was Simon Steinbild who just tried to avoid him there, or just tried to avoid Simon Steinbild, had to spin there, gets on by. And this has to be on your seat moment. You can see what he's seeing in the screen. VR, H pattern. And he has, look, he's even just looking to double check. He doesn't even use virtual mirrors. If you want proper immersion, this man has it all. Oh, that would make me feel sick right now.
Yeah, H pattern, and honestly, I think also a little bit of, ooh, yeah, that is very, very tight there. Barely was able to keep along it. Ooh! Everything considered, I think he got better off than... oh my goodness. Both of them somehow didn't end up in the wall there, but I think there might be some suspension damage there for sure.
Well, we'll wait and see. As I was saying before we saw that moment, Jacob Reed had the fastest lap with a 58 flat. Fastest lap this week in the sprint races. A 5:54.16 second from James Barry. That's almost half a second faster than what his starter had put out here today. I can report, you see on the timing tower, Jose Luis Montilla has had a moment out there and he is stopped on the track. Pepe Fuertes now comes on by and down they will go into Bergwerk, in down to the Kesselchen. Nice little camber, and then you've got to look. Fuertes and his starter pulled away a little bit from James Barry and Jacob Reed, who will be the first one to blink. Very tough to make a move, and just got to give a shout out right behind them, or 5 seconds behind them. Steve Bycroft is trying to hold up Gunnar Friescher, so you do have little packs of groups here, but at the start of the race, we had like 4 cars racing together. Right now, everyone, grab a partner, you're all driving in twos.
Yeah, and that's mainly the big thing that you have to do around here. You have to find a partner, especially for all of these long straights. Of course, it's all high downforce, but in the end, the corners that you do have, where you actually have to slow down, they're not so impactful around these cars that you'd really lose a lot of time, staying behind another car. And not just, it's not just going faster with having slipstream, for example, but also down the straight, you can also try to slightly arrow push each other. So when the air goes over both cars start to get a little bit more optimized, reduce drag. That's something that, in NASCAR, we actually have that quite a lot, this arrow pushing on straights. And that does kind of work in all cars, except for here, you don't really want to get that close because, as soon as the nose gets underneath the back of the other car, stalls those diffusers, they just fly into the wall and you're usually then with them. Jacob Reed, nevertheless, he's trying to get very, very close to James Barry's rear. At this point, I'd say, buy him a bouquet of roses first. That is quite close in the middle of corners.
Well, I don't think we're close enough to the Swiss border to go and get himself a Lindt chocolate of a confectionery are available. But of course, one of the things that the nature of the Nordschleife is, you see the cars racing together and nothing happens until you get to one of these straights. So we've talked about those straights. Dottingerhohe right before Arenberg, also coming up there before Bravery Klosterau. Unless they make a mistake, you don't really see overtakes. And of course, Barry having a small mistake there and Reed deciding not really worth trying to make any sort of move there. Just keep it going because you come down into Flats Garden 2 and then down to Steppenbeloff. It's not exactly the place you want to go side by side. This is where he'll look for the move. And with the nature of Jacob Reed, he is a fast driver. I don't know if he's faster than James Barry, but right now the pace is belonging to him. he may look for a move here because this is it. He's done what he has to do. He stayed with his partner, and now they're on the straight. Now they can go to couples counseling to work out who is going through that door first.
Absolutely, and you can see again how many bumps there, you know, how bumpy it is overall on this circuit. James Barry was caught a little bit at Pflanzgarten 1 earlier, slid a tiny little bit too wide, and that's where Jacob Reed closed back up as closely as he did again. Pepe Fuentes, meanwhile, the pair up ahead, I don't think he's going for the move, but Jacob Reed indeed is, 285 kilometers an hour, and slots in front. So let's see now. Is Jacob Reed a faster driver, or was he just that good at putting down pressure to distract James Barry from going his optimum pace that he showed earlier this week?
Well, a little column A and a little column B, I feel a little bit of a slide coming out the final corner for Reed. We'll see the times. It's a 55.7 for Hussar. It's a 55.721 for Fuentes. It's a 55.780 for Hissada. They are basically matching each other out there right now. That's some fantastic times for both these drivers. And now Reed is unleashed. And there are other battles going down the Dottinger. You see this Alec Cunningham with Robert Simpkin. And Cunningham is the red car. Simpkins is the blue. And that is another overtake down there. It's the only 2 overtakes this time down the Dottinger Hoa. Something you don't usually see. But for the Canadian, he's going to have to do it all again. For Hissada, he's going to have to go defending once again. Closest Fuentes has been for a while. Going to be tough to make a move at Arenberg.
Yeah, it's got a long, relatively straight run here. Question is, can he get alongside for Schwedenkreuz? Because you have to be alongside there to make that move into Arenberg, to be later on the brakes, but too far away. Not quite able to make that move yet, but look at that. On the brakes, slightly closing the gap again and in the middle of the corner. And on the acceleration, actually, also a little bit more planted on the rear. So Fuentes is really putting the pressure in right now.
Yeah, Hissada, we all know Hissada loves his setups a little bit looser. But they do like to use the same setups, and gotta be careful with the compression there not to cut too much of the curve. Felt like Pepe hit too much of that curve there and had to just slow it down. But real smart driving. You see the different lines they're taking. And it is a true testament that you think these guys are doing 55s. The rest of the field are doing 57s and above. Barry West looking for some moves as well as he just almost got overtaken there from Simon Steinbild as they're having a nice little scrappers. There you see Barry. I think he was also, when he was looking at his mirror, I think he may have also just tried to look over and see how's the steering on that wheel after that little crash he had, that little tap he had earlier. But he is still battling. And realistically, Nicholas, yes, everyone wants to battle here. But the name of the game is to survive the green hell. That's what Jackie Stewart called it. It's the green hell. You survive, that's a victory in itself. As Simon, unfortunately, goes a little bit off wide there onto the grass.
Yeah, that's, well, quite fitting timing there, actually, isn't it? You know, in the end, the thing you have to aim for most is just stay consistent. You can see Fuentes, for example, scrolling all over here, just almost touching the curb that ended the race for at least 4 drivers earlier in the race. And it's all about, you know, waging really the risk that you want to take as opposed to, you know, the attack that you want to make right now. And Fuentes, I think, right now, he's just going to try and hang back again. He saw earlier, you know, I can make my move past Hissada easily. I can make that pass. I can keep up with him. I can go faster. But it doesn't really help me right now if I do it now, and then he just drives past me later again.
And welcome to the game of chess that you see on a track with a lot of straights, and that's what you got at the Nordschleife. Yes, do you want to try and make the move? Maybe. But do you want to do it now when you know that you've got 2 laps after this to try and defend? And that's what they're looking at. And a slide from Hissada. And the more he slides, the more Fuentes is right behind him and loses time because he can't capitalize on that. And he also knows they're 1 and 2. They don't need to be aggressive right now. They can just wait. An idea, if we see Daniel Gallas having a little bit of a battle with Tim Shoecraft as they go on, an idea of a good battle here. Last year, Nordschleife, we go back to the Intervintage series, it's day 2 of battle. That's never going to work. You look at the Intervintage, the final lap, Valenteas did a lift to deliberately give Jacob Reed the lead going down the Dottinger Hoa. That is the name of chess right now. Gallas, he's not looking to play chess, he's looking to play checkers, trying to make a jump here. Just nothing there on Tim. Real good defending from Tim. Had he got a bit too wide, though, that may open the door, but nope, the door is shut once again.
Yeah, Schulcraft and Gallus really heated battle as they go into the carousel. I think Gallus might have to turn the aggression down a little bit, though. You could see him swerving left, right, trying to look for a gap. And, you know, quite a few times actually getting to the edge of the circuit, where it can be quite bumpy. And, you know, these cars, they're so incredibly stiff to cope with the insane amounts of downforce that the underbody is generating, that, you know, these bigger bumps, you know, like, for example, these high curbs, as we saw with X Müller earlier in this race, or, you know, with curbs like these, when you hit them wrong, the car will immediately start stalling downforce. You'll immediately have this bump in it, and all of a sudden, you know, these wings are comparatively just for show, so you lose a lot of grip all of a sudden. Either you keep control, but you lose a lot of time, or you lose control, and then it's hello wall. You know, that would be the newest addition to the YouTube Corner compilation for our resident YouTube channels.
Well, we almost saw that with Daniel Gallus coming around Whipperman. He just clipped the curb a bit too much, and at the next corner, he had to take a lot more speed off than he wanted because he had to keep the car calm. He had to calm the car down, almost like you're trying to tame a horse when it's a little bit angry and being upset while you're on the back of it. He had to just go, it's easy, it's all right, and even more, just kissing those curves to just hope for a moment there. And while this is happening, the leaders are on the dotting hill. We're not showing it because nothing's happened as they're about to start the penultimate lap for some of these drivers. They haven't had to look for any move. But if you're Daniel Gallus right here, really good second carousel, but a bit of a moment there, looking for clean air, changing his lines, not what he wants, comes around Schwarz, and now you've got to feel 2/10 behind. You've got to keep it pinned. Might be able to make a move, but it's a bit close. Pepe Fuentes, fastest lap. His starter was 3/10 faster, but an off-track means he does not get that purple.
Yeah, touching the grass, not always a positive thing, as opposed to, you know, the imperative that a lot of people are quoting nowadays. Taylor Lane still going, managed to get back to the pits, and luckily his mechanics had a spare rear wing at hand. So I think he isn't even a lap down, so he's going to be able to finish the race on the lead lap. And, you know, in the end, I know it's not optimal, but in the end, you can still finish the race. So as Jackie Stewart said, you know, surviving is, you know, one big victory that you can already take away from this circuit.
He's 30 seconds ahead of Togo Hisada, so he will definitely be the last man. And this is what you like to see. Onto the VR once again for Barry. Looks to his right, make sure he checks that the wall. Very important to make that. He doesn't need to look behind because you can see on the relative, there is no worry of the cars behind. He has to just keep looking forward. And the Unipark car there is looking as good as he can. Through they go into the Hatzenbach, into Hokkien, and then Kudelbacher. This is where it just gets really fun for these cars, and a little bit of washout there for Barry, the understeer, just carving him. And again, that's a curve in a GT car you can start to attack. Unfortunately, at the river, as they say in German, you can't do a lot there. He is closing up, but it's that same thing. Keep close before you have to make an overtake.
Yeah, and it's all about trying to put the power down and keeping the traction going as much as possible. These are, you know, especially for their time, these are insanely high grip cars. But, you know, when you're at lower speeds, you know, obviously the slower you go, the less downforce can be generated over the underbody and the wings. So really tricky thing to balance, because you have these huge tires, you know, you have a lot of surface area to put the power down, but also quite a lot of power in these high revving V8s. So it's always this slight balance between finding just the right amount of slip angle, not over. Yeah, we're having a few small technical difficulties for a moment, but hopefully that should be sorted in just a second. And there we are back to Pepe Fuentes, actually looking all over the back of Togo Hisada, as we saw earlier already, up Steilstrecke and now up the second to last time this race into the carousel. And wonderful panning shot, honestly, with that helicopter, you know, or drone, depending on. That was one of the big changes that they did in the last couple of years around the NLS and 24 Hours of Nürburgring, that they actually started implementing drones instead of helicopters. Stupendously saved a lot of money. Just a little fun tidbit fact that you don't really, you know, consider when you're normally like watching these races.
Isn't it brilliant what they do nowadays? Back in the day, you'd have one helicopter that could probably just go around. You barely had any cameras around. And nowadays, you're looking at the likes of having drones around here. And frankly, we've got our own drones. We've got our own little gopher cameras as well on the track. You've not missed anything at the moment. Fuentes continues to push on by. One thing we missed, which would have been fantastic for the highlight reel, Daniel Gallas early in the lap managed to get past Tim Schucraft with a move around the outside of Flugplatz. I would love to show it to you. We have a few technical issues at the moment, unable to do that. This is Seb Alexander trying to catch up to Gunnar Friescher, and hats up to Seb, up 6 places and making real good time. This is the track where everybody Jacob Reed, just having a moment as James Barry gets on by. Did see that, and it was actually Reed. He got caught by the curbs again.
And that's the big thing. Once again, you know, consistency is key around here, so it doesn't matter how fast you are. James Barry with a stupendously loose car around this section. We saw that a couple laps ago already, in actually getting into the position where Reed could just shoot past him. And, well, now he's back past, but now has to defend once again from the charging Englishman right behind him.
And now Pepe Fuertes, this is the penultimate lap. So the question is, will he look for a move? Here comes the Serpentine. Hisada realizes it's go time. 2 to go. He has to stop being on the defense. Pepe had been the faster car. Well, technically Hisada last time by, but the purple stripe belongs to Pepe. And I wonder if this is going to be... No, he's lifting. I just saw a little bit of a lift there from Pepe Fuertes. He's not looking to be aggressive right here today. He's just decided, nah, it's time. Wait for the moment. And do you blame him? This is the perfect opportunity. Jacob Reed may be looking for a move as well. But now comes the crunch time. If you don't make the move now, you have to make it on the final lap. Because when they come around Tiergarten, it's going to be for everybody because Barry holds off Jacob Reed. Top 4 are about to see the white flag from Barney. And I tell you what, the next 6 minutes are going to be very vital.
And Alexander also alongside with Friesen, I think. Or was that? No, that was with Fritzsche, sorry. Was mistaken there for a moment, but that was insanely close there. As Alexander slightly loses the rear just a little bit on turn-in and loses a little bit more of that gap there.
Yeah, loses a little bit of the gap. And now you just start to wonder if Seb Alexander comes on by. This is the final time for him as well. You see the white flag coming on. And the question for these drivers is, what have they got left? Some of these tyres will be screaming. It's a cold track out there today. 29 Celsius track temp, 84 Fahrenheit, but a lot of battles. And these two still battling. This is Barry West, Simon Steinfeld, and Barry West has the inside going out into Tiergarten. Wonder if they'll go a little bit side by side and try and make a move. No, Barry decides to get it. Simon decides it's not worth it. But they know that next time it will be fighting to the top of Tiergarten, to the top of the hill. And that's going to be very vital in these final moments because they've taken 1/4 of the track. They've got another 4 minutes to go.
Honestly, you know, what can you say other than, you know, what a section of track here. You can see Hisada attacking the curb so aggressively. Honestly, at this point, I think it's just samurai spirit keeping that car glued to the ground because in that short moment where you see those sparks go up, that's the entire downforce just gone for a moment. And, well, just absolutely insane driving, insane consistency, and what precision as well from Hisada through this entire race, you know, to just use all, well, every single square inch of the race surface that he has available here right now.
Yep. Every bit he can get. And Parley Parton, former champion in the YouTube chat, just giving us a talk. Is it downforce? Is it lifting? It might be a case of one or the other. Very interesting to see Pepe decide to go for it, but it does make you wonder if he's unable to catch up to the back of Hisada. Is that the issue? Because Hisada has been quick this week on the pace, down at the Dottinger Hoa. And I do wonder if this is it now. They're at the halfway stage of the lap. And they threw final time at the bridge and up into X Müller. Oh, is that a little bit wide there by Pepe Fuertes, I wonder? That looked a little bit of a slide. I know this isn't the place that you want to look for a move, but right now, Nicholas, you have to keep right on the rear of Toga Hisada if you want to even have a chance to get through at the line.
Yeah, he has to stay in the slipstream range. He doesn't have to make his move yet. And I don't think he's looking to make his move yet, but he has to keep that slipstream range, you know, at max 3/10 so that he can keep at the beginning of Döttinger Höhe. Right now, he seems to be in a quite good space with that. A lot of sparks still striking from Hisada's car and from Fuentes' car. channeling his inner Fernando Alonso, like with his helmet, tried to put as much pressure on the Japanese man right in front of him, and that is, yeah, I think that is one of the things, they're not making moves, so, a lot of, like, just F1 racing fans nowadays, that just expect, oh, well, DRS and overtake, they'll think, okay, this is not really a battle, is it? They're not making any overtaking moves. This is this constant battle of putting pressure on each other, trying to stay constant,
Pepe got left around here. It's going to be a lot, really. In all due fairness, there is a lot left to go for Pepe. And I do wonder if this is the moment that he now just feels this could be the death knell. Toga Hitsada has not had the best middle half of the season, and he finally got back to winning ways. I do wonder if he's going to be able to stick to winning ways after winning last week. He got that win. Can he get one more win? He's going to have to defend Pepe Fuentes, the fastest man this week in a hot lap. Come down to one more time, down into the flats garden. And Stefan Beloff will be around shortly down the hill. Keep that downforce on. Keep it going. A small slide by both drivers. The sparks go flying. And now Stefan Beloff awaits them one more time. The last time Toga Hitsada was on an iRacing highlight, everybody talked about the Stefan Beloff helmet. And a move there from Pepe Fuentes. What a move from Pepe. This could be big. This could be big. What has Hitsada got? Into the final chicane. The Klein carousel. Is there anything for Hitsada? He's going to wait here for the moment. He knows that all he has to do is lift off. He lifted off. Has he lifted off too much, though? The gap is 7/10. He might have made a mistake. Was that a misshift? Serpentine will not be needed from Fuentes, but he'll try it. The gap, 6/10. It's closing. It's closing. We know what Hitsada's like. King of the late breakers, but he's going to need more. 5/10. 4/10, really going. Pepe knows he can't do this anymore. Is Pepe lifting? Is Hitsada just that faster? We're going to have to wait. Here they come to the bridge, and Hitsada has retaken the lead. That was everything Pepe needed. The Serpentine comes down for Hitsada. What does Fuentes have? He doesn't have anything. And into the braking. Remember, there'll be one more corner after this as well. Be the right-hander. Nowhere for Fuentes to go. Toga Hitsada makes the mistake. They're coming together. They both spin. 5 seconds behind them will be the drivers. It's a reverse to the finish. It is going to be a reverse to the finish. And Hitsada will win a fantastic race.
No way! Both of them going across in reverse into that last corner. I mean, I absolutely get Fuentes going for that move. That was ballsy, absolutely. But what a move, not even more ballsy, that move into Schwalbenschwanz. I've never seen anything like that. My goodness. As Nicky Friesen comes in to finish 7th, Jacob Reed dropped down quite a lot. I think he had a crash towards the end of the lap because James Berry finished 3rd, Bycroft 4th, Fritsche 5th, Alexander 6th, Friesen 7th. Krakowiak is coming now down the straight into 8th and actually just finished. But my goodness, what a finish!
To report on what happened to Jacob Reed, he went side by side up Tiergarten with James Barry, and there was a small bit of smooth, but I think they packed wheels, and that sent Jacob Reed onto the grass, onto the race curbs, as Barry West comes across the line, and unfortunately he lifted the rear up in the air, no control. Jacob Reed, unfortunately, was caught out. Barry West will be then. I'm just seeing if we've got any more drivers. There is still a few drivers out there, but I think that's going to be everything with Aaron Blair. Last man on the lead lap, just having a few moments out there. I do have a voice left, ladies and gentlemen. I know people always joke about that, but just fantastic driving by both drivers. And it is nice to see afterwards that Toga Hitsada and Pepe went in. Pepe said, I had to try. And Togo said that was hard racing and super fair. As we get to those results, 3/10 is the gap, though, the official gap between Hitsada and Pepe Fuentes. James Barry will finish that P3, 5 seconds behind. Steve Bycroft with a very good P4. Gunnar Friescher with fifth. Steb Alexander makes up 7 places to 6. Mickey Friesen up 5 to 7. Jason Kaviak will be 10 places up into 8. 8 places up for John Francis Boskus for 9th. Luca Monroe makes 12. He finishes in 10th.
What a race. Beyond the top 10, though, Daniel Gallis gets it to 11th place. Actually got past Tim Shoecraft, who he was threatening so much earlier. Barry West gets it up to 13th place after a huge incident earlier. Then Simon Steinbild in 14th. After that, we have Robert Simpkins in 15th, Alec Cunningham in 16th, then our unlucky ducky Jacob Reed in 17th place, technically not finishing the lap, but yeah. Then Aaron J. Blair in 18th, Jose Luis Montilla in 19th, and Josephine Becker in 20th place.
And then we get to the drivers 2 laps down, all having issues. It'll be Taylor Lane in 21st position. And then Gabriel Martinez got caught in that wreck. Did try to come back out, though. Will be in 22nd himself. Ricardo Ruiz will finish in 23rd. Kevin Marugan will be 24th. And Bjorn Ackerman and Shadi Ahmad, both getting caught in that wreck, will finish 25th and 26th, respectively. Always nice as well. 26 starters, all 26, setting a qualifying time around the Nordschleife. Don't usually that. But one man definitely set a qualifying time, set some fast laps. Togo Hisada was the man. And Togo, it's another victory, but it felt like you had to work for it at the end.
Yeah, it's first of all, it's hard racing, you know. It's hard racing, and all the whole race, the paper is so fair, and yeah, you know, that we are quite different setup we're using. So yeah, overtake and defense is pretty interesting. And I'm really happy to take a victory, yeah, at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, it's always good. And I saw you in the last race a couple hours ago, and this race, a couple mistakes going down to the Dottinger Hoa. What was that on purpose to try and get the advantage, or was it just some mistakes and you had to rely on that less downforce and faster car to make those overtakes?
No, that was the Pepe's trick, you know. Pepe is, you know, like a short oval, braking, turning, and slightly, you know, he, you know, delayed the throttle on again. So I just check up, I checked up, and I have to lift the throttle once. So at that time, that one, I thought, oh, it's over. But yeah, fortunately, the straight is long enough to catch up. So yeah, that's a nice, you know, nice racing.
It was nice racing. It was really nice, respectful racing by everybody. This is a track, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the track that suits you. We've seen a lot of moments on the iRacing highlights with you here. This must be a track that you love. I've got to ask you, I'm sorry, where does this rank? Above or below Suzuka?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Yeah, both I love it. Yeah, but still I'm Japanese, so I love Suzuka, but yeah, it's pretty close.
Well, Togo, it's another win for you today. It's Ichiban for you. Is there anybody, before we let you go, that you would like to give a shout out to?
First of all, thanks for the Pepe Fuentes for incredibly fair battle. I enjoyed that so much. I hope you enjoyed that as well. And the Lotus 79 communities and the GSRC broadcasting team. Thank you very much.
Well, Togo, once again, thank you so much. Arigato gozaimasu, as per usual, for coming to see us. Our winner of the day, Togo Hisada. And up next, Nicholas will be alongside Luca Monroe, who had a very interesting race, who finished in 10th.
Luca made it.
Hello, Nicholas.
Made it to overall 10th place. Yeah, it's been a while since we talked, hasn't it?
Yeah, I miss our conversations, Nicholas. That's the only reason I did this. I totally didn't know that you weren't, you know, doing the commentary.
Well, the psychic connection. But anyway, this race, though, started 22nd, finished in 10th. Well, starting that far back, or honestly, you know, you obviously had a first row seat, basically, of that huge accident at X Müller in the beginning of the race. How was it surviving through that?
There were skid marks not just on the track. Yeah, that was precarious, and I had to weave around. And I did. Oh, mind you, if I don't know if in real life I'd have been penalised for passing Danny, because he was slowing up and it was yellow flag. I obviously wasn't trying to take advantage of the situation, go for, like, you know, overtakes on people who are at full speed or anything. But yeah, it was. That was scary. And then there was another one later in the race with Kevin Verbruggen coming out under the Adenau Bridge, and I was like, oh, do I go left? Do I go right? Gotta make a decision, and I did. And thankfully, I made that work. Also, I swear I was 11th on the last lap, and then I got up to 10th as soon as I crossed the line, which I'll happily take. I just don't know what happened ahead of me for me to get that position.
Yeah, Jacob Reed on the final lap down in Tiergarten.
Ah, right.
Incidente. So yeah, unlucky for him, but I mean, as they love to say on the voice chat, freebie. And in the end, you have to finish all 6 laps, and that's what you did. Overall, 12 positions gained. What would you say was the biggest difficulty in this race for you?
Well, I've committed to running a low downforce setup, and it's very rewarding at times, but also very skittish. Like, there were more than a few times in that race where I felt like I was almost like someone grinding a skateboard on a metal pole or something, like on the curbs. These races for me are merely just like practice for the vintage Grand Prix Tour, which I'm looking forward to doing tomorrow at 7 o'clock, the 14-lap race. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. I think everyone loves Nordschleife, especially in these cars. Yeah, I only got this car ahead of the vintage Grand Prix Tour starting up, and it's such a great purchase. I'm so glad. I'm really grateful to have discovered the Lotus 79 Discord server community, and only just today found out that to be in the, get my face cam in there, I'd have to be in the Global Sim Racing channel. So I only just managed to do that now. You'll see me most likely in races when there's a vintage Grand Prix Tour race also on, but I'll take I did the Interlagos top split race. I did a few seasons ago. I did Thruxton at the end of at the beginning of June. I do love these races, and the car's amazing.
Well, always lovely to see more people enjoying historic cars. In the end, is there anyone that you'd like to shout out here quickly?
Yeah, well, my parents are watching, so a big hello to them. Also, I want to just put my hands up and say, in the race before this one, I did make a big mistake at the start. I'm not used to starting on the Nordschleife, and I inadvertently took out Kevin Verbruggen and compromised the races of Danny and Jason. And I have apologised to them. One of them hasn't really accepted my apology, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, unfortunately, it was a silly move on my part, and I just want to make a commitment that I will be doing my very utmost to avoid making silly errors like that in the future, because the last thing I want to do is to ruin anyone's races, and I'm just glad I didn't this time.
Well, a lot of lessons learned here, a lot of positions gained. Thank you for joining us, Luca.
Thank you very much, Nicholas.
That was Luca Monroe finishing in 10th. And one last interview. It's only fair because we went on board a few times. Barry West once again finishing in 13th. And Barry, it looked very treacherous out there. And unfortunately, there was a small moment which we did catch. But that's the nature around the Green Hell.
Yeah, it was, Craig. It was a great race. It would keep you on your toes, certainly around here.
Right. Let's talk about it, Barry. I know we always go to you when it's VR. I know it. But you're our resident VR driver here for the Lotus 79s. Talk us through the Lotus 79. Talk us through VR in itself around the Nordschleife, because there's not really many tracks where the walls are right next to you. And we saw a lot of the time you looking to your right, just checking damage, checking everything. You must feel really claustrophobic with the walls so close.
Yeah, when I look to my right, I'm probably just glancing down at the relative to see how far the car behind is, because they were quite close all the way through that race. A great race with who was it? It was Simon. Simon got past me, and we touched, unfortunately. So the next lap I slowed, let him back past. Then he made a mistake, and I got back past. And then I thought he was going to get me on the last lap, but yeah, he messed up coming onto the dot on the hoe on the last bend. I gave him a bit of room on the left. It said car left, and I thought, I'll give him benefit of the doubt, and left the room. But he just caught the curb, and it slowed him up and pulled him into the grass. But yeah, otherwise I think I'd have lost a place on that last lap. But yeah, it's a great track, but to finish it is just an achievement, to be honest. Just avoiding the incidents. Well, look, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have got 13 from 23rd without all of the incidents. So, yeah, it was a great race.
Well, you were 14th until the final few corners after Jacob Reed's crash. That gave you 13th. But as you said,
Ah.
you've got to finish the race to be in it, and it's always an achievement. But what is it, Barry, about the Nordschleife? It brings everybody, and you've been here longer than a lot of people on the sim, so you know it yourself. What is that magic of Nordschleife to you? What does it mean to you? Because for everybody, it's a challenge, but for others, it's just that experience.
It's just that I've driven it in real life, actually, in a sports car, and I know what my pace is. I know I'm not a fast guy, but I'm not a slow guy. It's just knowing your limits, because I think when you get drawn into a race with somebody, you just got to remember you're not racing them, you're racing the track, and you know what your limits are on the track, and don't overstep them. And just don't race that person, because stay in front of them, and hopefully they don't go in the back of you. But just keep to your lines and make sure you get your exits right. And it's so difficult to overtake here. Make sure you get that last exit onto the back straight. And then the other one is where is it? The Flugplatz, where you go up and over and get a bit of air and make sure you've got full power around there. I was using an old setup, which was a one from the combined circuit. So I hadn't tried the low downforce one, because I think I was only 176 on the straight was maximum, but some were doing 182, I think, miles an hour. So yeah, I don't know if you caught it, but there's 5 going down on lap 1, down a dot on the hoe, and I thought this is going to be a mess. Yeah, it was picking which car to stay behind, and fortunately I picked the wrong one, and nobody changed places. So credit to everybody who was racing there. That was good.
It was great. We did actually catch the 4 wide. We did catch the battling. It's always good. Barry, it's always fantastic to see you. We can't wait to see you next week at not Long Beach, sorry. It's Detroit. Do apologize. Can't wait to see you there next week. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend and stay cool, my friend.
Thank you. I mean, I got a new wheel coming Monday, so I should probably be off pace next week.
We'll wait and see for that. Barry, it's great to see you, and have a great weekend.
Okay, cheers, Craig.
That will be it. That's Barry West today. Always great to see Barry finishing in 13th. The unlucky 13th, but it's lucky today for him. And that will be everything for us. Take a bite to the green hell one more time. I want to give a shout out to our team. I want to give a shout out to Nicholas for helping out. And of course, also Christian DeProy and Daniel Costello stepping in after a few technical hiccups in our background. We apologize for that. And of course, Dougie Beard, as per usual, for these fantastic shots. The castle. We always love to see the castle. Don't forget, next week we'll be there at Detroit. It's Belle Isle, the old Belle Isle there. That's going to be good. You thought the walls were closed here. Wait till you see Belle Isle next week. And it's going to be fantastic. But once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking with us here on the iRacing page. I'm sure you have liked and subscribed on those, and you want to not miss any action here on iRacing, because the racing never stops here. It is going to be another thrilling championship. The name isn't parted in battling Toga Hizada, but Togo once again has the lead, and it has it close. But again, we've only got the quarter of a way to go. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we will see you on the track.